Welcome back to some new malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Calling Leads. I work in sales, and one of my jobs is to call pipeline leads. Pipeline leads are customers who we've spoken to in the past that didn't buy for whatever reason. Over the years, I've had a few customers who very clearly had very sound and good judgment not to do business with me. It's not cause I am bad or they are bad. It's cause we aren't a good fit for each other, and that's okay. Now, I hate bugging those people, but my management wants us to call our entire pipeline every 90 days. Now, in order to call those leads, I go to their profile, click the number, and it dials on my computer and gets counted as a call. I also notice, unless the software has detected we made positive contact with the person we are calling, the call timer is always at 000. Since most of our calls go unanswered, that is a really common call time. I however noticed it takes like 2 or 3 rings for the call to even ring through to the client. I tested this on my phone and my coworker's phone, so I have a list of clients that I'm supposed to call every 90 days. I spread those clients throughout the 90 days. When I see a client I know doesn't want to talk to me, I hit the call button and then hang up right away. The person I called doesn't even get notified they got called, but in my metrics it shows that I called them. Since doing this, my sales have gone up for a few reasons. 1. I found a way to deal with the most annoying part of the job my manager has me doing, which makes my mindset better, which in turn means I sell better. I'm also not getting yelled at by people who are like, I told you I am not buying your stuff. And my manager is stoked and loves to use me as an example for the other salespeople, cause my nickname has become Pipeline Master. The next story is called Sick Leave. I was working in a plastic factory a few years back. The machinery I was working on mostly did plastic for hay bales. The group I was in consisted of 4 people, including me. 2 of them did close to nothing, while I and this willy old dude had to do their part every day. I was working 6 days a week, doing the job of 3 people. Then the old dude retired, and I was left with the 2 guys that left the site constantly to do God knows what. Then it happened. The robot that usually does the packaging didn't get the plastic roll in its package, so I went to put it in. When you enter the area the robot is working in, the sensors immediately stop the robot. The robot for some reason suddenly started moving and punched the back of my right hand, and it was crushed. I got an ambulance to the ER and I got 1 month of sick leave. When I went to turn it in, my boss jumped. I explained to him that my hand also has nerve damage. 4 days into the sick leave, my boss calls me and tells me that if I don't get back to work earlier, he would have to reconsider extending my contract. After stuttering a bit, I told him I understood, and that was the end of the call. I went back the next week, and when I got to my machines, the orders that we had before my sick leave were still ongoing and hadn't made any progress. I walked through the cafeteria into the office area and told my boss that I changed my mind. I'm gonna quit. This made him really angry, but I just told him good luck with the important order and got on my way. The huge factory is next to a bunch of really small towns and word spread around. No one is willing to fill my or the old man's position, and they had to close the part I was working in. The third story is called Boss Got It All. This was nearly 20 years ago, but something tells me retail work hasn't changed much. When I was 18, I worked for a company which shall not be named, other than they are large and sell much. The policy was only 2 sick days a year and no PTO whatsoever for part-timers. The company made sure never to schedule you more than 36 hours a week, or you would be considered full-time and get PTO. The flu was running rampant, and I got hit with it badly this particular year and used up my 2 sick days. I called in sick on day 3 and was told if I did not come in, I would be written up. I did not come in. Unfortunately, I was still sick on day 4, but in I went, because 2 days missed is considered no call, no show, and instant termination. As soon as I walk in, the store boss calls me back into his office and demands an explanation. He berates me for violating the store trust, violating the sick policy of 2 days, etc. He handed me my first and only warning, which said "Final Warning" on it, and told me to sign. The entire time he was talking, I was phasing in and out of consciousness, but as he slid the paper down to me, the motion of looking down was too much. My sickness was released all over his office. It was everywhere, all over him, his desk, the warning, etc. Even with all of that, he still made me sign the now destroyed paper and work the rest of the week. I ended up being stuck there for 7 more months before I found a much better job. The next story is called Small Freight First. I used to work at a home improvement retailer that's popular in the Midwest US. Nothing bad against the company, other than the simple fact it's retail. This story is about my assistant manager at the time. At the time, I was working as a morning stocker with 2 other guys and was the senior in seniority, despite having only been with the company for 6 months. The older gentleman downstocker was a retired aviation engineer who just got bored of retirement and wanted something active. Our department manager was my first and absolute best manager. He had a policy where we stockers would first put away the heavy bulk items that can be taken off the pallets and thrown onto the shelves without unwrapping them. We would work through the bulk items, working our way down to the smaller items until we got to the smallest items, like theater box candy. One morning we come into work on this particularly fine Friday morning where the manager had the day off. It was the assistant manager for that morning as well as the whole weekend. Managers alternated working on weekends, a reason I refused a management position. It was this day that she felt she needed to up her game or something. She told us in the morning note to us stockers that we needed to work on the smaller items first and work our way up to the larger items. We all exchanged looks and knew this was a bad idea. So I told them to just do the normal stuff, and I would ask her when she came in an hour and a half later at 6:30 AM. She came in, and fortunately for us, I and the other stocker had finished our pallets, while the downstocker was just working the usual rounds, walking up and down the ladder. I asked her if she really wanted to proceed with this line of process, as there were 10 pallets in the receiving area for our department. 6 of them were bulk items we could have done in less than an hour. One of the reasons we stockers did the bulk items, as our manager would jokingly put it, he didn't want the sales team to smell like crap. Which makes sense if you ask me, cause I've smelled myself on the way home after working bulk freight all day. But she was adamant that we did the small piddly stuff, so the sales team could focus on making sales and other more important tasks. One thing I failed to mention is that it was thunderstorming this Friday, which is a good day for me, as I might as well live in Seattle or other places where it rains a lot. This causes sales to drop dramatically at our store, given its location in the city, as only contractors don't give a hoot about the weather. Without skipping a beat, the other stocker and I nodded our heads. When the assistant manager wasn't looking, I grabbed the note she left for us from the recycling box we had to use for later, as I knew where this was going after how the day was going. This repeated itself on Saturday, but rather than do a couple of bulk items in the hour and a half we had before the assistant manager came in, we complied. We only did the small items. We got maybe 7 pallets of freight out on Friday, 4 of them being bulk, 2 on that Saturday, despite another 15 pallets coming in. Stockers didn't work on Sundays. We stockers would work from 5 AM to 9 AM, and it was Monday morning when the managers would switch places. The department manager would be in at noon that day, and it was at about 8:30 AM when the assistant manager realized how badly she messed up. We had over 10 pallets in the back aisle, but receiving was packed with another 20 to 30, with over 20 of these pallets being bulk items we would have done easily. We came to find out she told none of the salespeople to work on freight. She would even tell the ones who would work on freight when their daily tasks were done to work on something else, like straightening the shelves and whatnot. I also found out from friends in receiving that there were 2 more trucks coming in that day, which caused me and the other stockers to giggle a bit. At about 8:30, the assistant manager told us, including the downstocker, to start working bulk freight to get as much out as possible. The thing was, I had class at 10 AM and needed to go home to shower so I didn't smell bad. The downstocker smirked and told the other stocker that we were going to leave on time with him. Come that Tuesday, the department manager's note to us told us to work on nothing but bulk freight, and that he wanted to talk to me specifically when he came in at 6:30. As soon as he came in, and before he could say a word to ask what happened, I took the papers the assistant manager gave us those 2 days and placed them in front of him. He shook his head before laughing, before bringing the other stockers over and telling us whoever got the most pallets done would get $20. Sad to say, I didn't win, but I did get a second place $10 bill. As I said, he was the best manager I ever had so far. The best part was the manager thanking us, handing us our winnings, then telling us at 9 to go home and shower, cause we smell so bad. We still laugh about this to this day. The last story is called Micromanager. I had a micromanager who used to yell at me for prepping food items that were not on the food prep list. I did it because I was asked to do so by other managers, team leads and associates, including the general manager, who was not this micromanager. We had a prep list and duties printed out with our names and time slots for said duties. This last part is key. Threats and yelling included threats to fire me, and he used openly discriminatory language while doing so. So from that day on, I followed the list as law. The micromanager needs 7 containers of sliced tomatoes. Sorry, the list says to make 5. He needs more teriyaki bowls. Sorry, but the list says to make 0 today. He needs me on dish cause he needs soup bowls and plates. Sorry, but the duty roster says that I am on food prep and trash duty only. He needs me on dish from 1 PM to 4 PM. Sorry, but the roster says that I'm on dish from 9 AM to 11 AM and on food prep from 11 AM till my shift ends at 2 PM. He needs me to help out in the dining room cause we have callouts. Sorry, but I'm on dish and food prep only today. The GM wants me on dish, but the micromanager needs food prepped. Sorry, but the micromanager threatened to fire me if I don't do what the roster says I am to do. Please ask someone else to do dishes. What? You still need me to do it? Okay, guess I am fired then. He stopped it after he realized that the only competent, as in didn't break 60 plates a day, food prep and dishwasher willing to work weekends was willing to walk out. About 3 months later, I did give my 2 weeks. They went from me covering 5 people's jobs to having to hire, train and replace 5 people's jobs when I stopped doing extra. The new people quit 2 to 3 weeks in every time. Additionally, a couple of the other girls also joined in on the fun, including a woman who hated me. That won't surprise me, as we equally hated each other, so I didn't expect support from her. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.